All right, that's recording. So we've learnt about your. Actually, I'll have to correct the way I pronounce it. It's apparently Eulerian, like oi, not Eulerian. Oi, Eulerian. Okay. So if I pronounce it wrong, just tell me off, but that's okay. So remember, with your Eulerian circuits, what's the basic idea? You have to cross every what once, every edge once only. Okay. And then obviously there's a couple rules with it. Eulerian trail, you can only do a trail, or a trail exists if at maximum 2 odd vertices. And for circuit, everything has to be even. Okay. Now that's for your Eulerian. Okay. Now when we talk about Hamiltonian, okay, highlight this word here. When you talk about Hamiltonian, so we're talking about go through. What do you guys think this one will be? Every vertex once. Good. Once only. Okay. So when you talk about Hamiltonian, now we're talking about the vertices. Okay. So Eulerian edge, Hamiltonian vertex. So there's 2 types as well that we can see when it comes to your Hamiltonians. So the first type of Hamiltonian, okay, is a Hamiltonian path. Okay. When we talk about Hamiltonian path, okay, it's every vertex, okay, only once. That's it. Start and finish are definitely going to be different, okay? So when we talk about Hamiltonian path, start and finish is going to be different. At different vertices. Oh, gosh. Vertices. Okay, that's what we're talking about with your Hamiltonian path. Only every vertex once, start and finish is different. But with a Hamiltonian cycle, okay, I'll do pink this one. I'll do purple. Hamiltonian cycle, okay. The reason why this is a little bit different is, again, every vertex once, but start and finish has to be the same. Okay, so it's kind of similar to your Eulerian circuit, where you start and finish at the same spot. Okay, but with Hamiltonian, you're talking only about the vertices. So you don't have to cross through every edge. So the edge is irrelevant with this one. It's just every single vertex once. Okay, so includes every vertex. Okay, and then except for start and end. Okay, so start and end is the same for this one, or start and finish. Sorry, at the same vertex. Okay, so that's what you're looking for when it comes to your Hamiltonian cycles. Okay, now the thing as well, however, what's different with your Hamiltonian is there's no rule as to whether or not something exists. Like for Eulerian, remember we talked about you have to have 2 odd vertices. Okay, with Hamiltonian, it's just trial and error. You just got to look at it and say, okay, does one exist, yes or no? Okay. However, there are some basic guidelines that we can go through. Okay, so for Hamiltonian path, according to this, any vertex with a degree of 1 has to be the start or the end. So what that talks about is, if you look at, for example, if you look at that graph on the bottom there, where is the start and finish? Or where should we start? It has to start at A, or it has to finish at A. Okay, not necessarily meaning it's the same. Okay, start and finish is the same, but for this one, because the degree is 1, if I go there and then I go to B, I can't go back to A again. Okay, so I have to start there. If I started at C, okay, and then I went to B, then A, I have to make sure that I end at A. Okay, so that means if I start at C, A has to be last. Or if I start at A, okay, then sure, that doesn't have to be last. But just make sure you understand, okay, that you got to cross every vertex once only. Okay, I think that's sort of the most easiest way to understand it. Let's see. If a graph has more than two vertices of a degree 1, it cannot have a Hamiltonian path. So what does that mean? Okay, I'll draw that for you here. So if your graph looks like this, okay, and we'll go with okay. So what's wrong with this graph, guys? Why can't I go? Why is there no Hamiltonian here? Okay. Yeah, there's a double up there. Okay. If you look here, both of these have a degree of 1, and so does this. So there's 3, okay, vertices that have a degree of 1. That means you can't actually cross through each one once only, right? Because then that means I have to go back there. But again, you can't. Hamiltonian, only every vertex once only. Okay, so that's an example of it there. Okay, and any vertices with a degree of 2 must have both their edges included in Hamiltonian. We'll go through that in these examples, okay? Ooh, sorry. But let's look at this first one here. For each of these, find a Hamiltonian path. So path meaning you don't have the start and end won't be the same. They're both going to be different. So if I start at C, I have to make sure where am I going to end? Okay, for a Hamiltonian to exist, guys. Where do I have to end if I start at C? E, good. And if I start at E, I can end anywhere else. Okay, so for this one, I can go E, B, A, D, C. That's fine. Or I can also go C, A, actually no, C, D, A, B, E. Okay, so just make sure there's you understand these are all trial and error most of the time, and also that you don't have to cross every edge, it's just every vertex. Okay, so that's one of them. Let's try this one. Okay, so if I start at D, where do I need to finish? You have to finish at A, okay, because that's only got a degree of 1. So if I do D, I can go E, C, B, A. Okay, that works. I can also start at A if I want to. So A, B, D, E, C. Okay, so Hamiltonian I find isn't too hard. It's just a bit of trial and error and just making sure you understand where to start and finish. Okay, so that's for your Hamiltonian path. What about your cycle? So remember, for your cycle, you got to make sure the start and finish is the same. Okay, so just be mindful of where your edges are going to be and where you can start and finish. So start and finish the same. I find this one's pretty straightforward because if you look at this graph, you can start anywhere. Okay, so I could start at, actually, let me ask somebody. Let's go with Zach. Can you give me a Hamiltonian cycle for this? You can start anywhere you like. Hamiltonian cycle. Yeah. D, E, F, and then back to A. Okay, notice how you have to include the start and finish for this, okay? So that's one Hamiltonian cycle. A, B, C, D, E, F, A. And again, you don't have to cross through every edge, okay? It's just the vertices. Let's see. Let's go with, everyone want to give me one for the next one? Okay, this one's easy as well. Let's go with, I'll ask. Kira, can you give me a Hamiltonian cycle for this graph, starting at A? No. Come on, you can do it. Start at A. Okay, where can I go next? Tell me. Hamiltonian cycle. Start and finish, same spot. I have to go through every single vertex once only. Okay, so what can you do? Go A, then C. What's next? C. Good. Then E. Keep going. F. Good. And then G, and then B. And what's the last one? Good. Start and end has to be the same with your cycles. All right, and that's basically all you need to know for your Hamiltonian. Okay, so Hamiltonian graph, every single vertex once only. That's the main thing. Cool.